Recently, I decided to add more regarding South American football because the content is, of course, as we can all see, very rich, and the website doesn't even have something close to the amount which was supposed to have this regarding the new world. Because I always had my own opinion that European football, because of, the longevity which it still has compared to South American football, and due to the rich levels regarding new tournaments and many other tournaments, the players and the newspapers are very easy actually to find. On the contrary, Argentine newspapers, Uruguayan newspapers are difficult to find. Brazilian newspapers are actually very easy. However, other newspapers such as Chilean newspaper, Paraguayan newspapers are difficult. However, I started to collect more data regarding this specific area, one of the main points of football, and the first World Cup after the Second World War is actually very interesting, and I would like to talk about the Brazilian side, which Flávio Costa molded back in the day. It's going to be very interesting because I always had this same opinion, which I still have regarding this national team. And this audio is probably going to be very, very long because I'm going to talk about the World Cup itself and the Brazilian national side and many other aspects which I believe are important to this audio. However, no entanto, eu gostaria de mencionar o seguinte em português mesmo para os irmãos portugueses. Na verdade, eu reformularei os irmãos que falam a língua portuguesa, que estou abrindo uma coluna em AEFSH especificamente para o português, porque embora os países portugueses tenham a tendência, que falam português, tenham a tendência em não falar inglês em comparação a outros países, a demanda do site em relação a artigos em português é muito grande e literalmente a metade do site fala português, vem do Brasil. Afinal, o Brasil é um país com 220 milhões de habitantes que possui a cultura futebolística enraizada, ou seja, é de grande importância ter uma coluna em relação a um público específico que atende essa demanda. E é claro, pelo fato de eu falar português e de estarmos em tempos de Copa do Mundo, eu gostaria de cobrir a Copa do Mundo em relação às principais equipes, cobrir, obviamente que não em termos jornalísticos, porém em termos de minha visão futebolística, cobrir as principais seleções e publicar sobre as mesmas em português. O nome da coluna é O Association, que, sendo um tanto contraditório, Association é associação em inglês, obviamente, O Association, porque Association Football é literalmente o nome original de futebol, Association Football. Eu acho engraçado quando muitos comentam sobre soccer, que os Estados Unidos utilizam, que é um termo que deriva da Inglaterra e não dos Estados Unidos em si. Eu acho interessante como muitos acabam denegrindo quem utiliza o termo soccer ao invés de futebol, sendo que soccer, copaná, cautio, labdarugas, futebol em todas as suas versões e etc., são a mesma coisa. Soccer é a mesma coisa que copaná. Copaná é tcheco antigo, quer dizer futebol. Labdarugas quer dizer futebol. Cautio, em italiano, quer dizer futebol. Eu não consigo compreender porque as pessoas possuem até um desprezo que utilizem soccer para mencionar futebol, sendo que os ingleses já utilizavam isso no século XIX. Gostaria de mencionar isso a respeito desta coluna específica. And consequently, going back to English, I would like to talk about the subscription, which I'm going to add again. I had some problems regarding this because I had to register my own identity, and to be honest, I didn't even care about this task because I'm always adding new stuff, and I never really had some attention. I didn't even care about if money was being gathered or something like that. I was always working, therefore the archive could have many other articles, and that's it. So this is the introduction. I'd like to talk about the Brazilian side, which was modeled by Flavio Costa, and it's actually interesting because this World Cup, it doesn't even make any sense because it's not really mathematically molded to be fair. I mean, there was a group with Uruguay and Bolivia, which was supposed to have France. However, they literally gave up regarding the tournament. So therefore, we had a single group with two national teams. Uruguay against Bolivia. Bolivia actually won against Uruguay a few. I believe it was the last match. However, it was not a Uruguayan side molded with their best players. I mean, if we take a look at the side which Uruguay had, it was precisely the reflection of the Peñarol side, which were invincible in the last championship. And it was a side which had Schiaffino, Migues, Pérez, and many others who actually did great regarding this World Cup, although they did not have played many matches. However, coming back to Brazil played their first match against Mexico, and this side had Carvajal and Casarin, who were regarded as their cracks. However, the Mexican side did not have enough solidity. They were not a very great side. They did not have this defensive cognition, and their football was very primitive. However, although Brazil won 4-0, Flavio Costa and almost every single person thought that the Brazilian side did not play what they could have played. And this could be explained with half a dozen articles, because there was a problem regarding the formation, because the Flavio Costa played the side with his and Ondino Vieira's diagonal, which was not a great formation if we can compare to many others, such as the Verrou or the WM. But Brazil still managed to win 4-0. And the best player was Jair, who I consider to be the best player who was in action in the last edition of the South American Championship. Après, or after him, Ademir played as a right inside forward and managed to do greatly against the North American side. After this match, I do remember that it was against Switzerland, which did not have Karl Rapin, the Austrian coach, but an Italian. I believe his name was Franco. However, his side still had some Verrou, and they could actually fight throughout the 90 minutes, and Brazil actually tied with them. I believe Faton scored he scored both goals against Brazil. Ademir, no, I mean it was Alfredo and Baltazar, I believe, who scored both goals for Brazil. And this side was still evolving throughout the tournament until they had to win against Yugoslavia, which had lost the final of the 48 Olympics against Sweden, mainly because of a penalty against Gunnar Nordahl, a stupid penalty. And this side was, this Yugoslavian side was one of the best sides of all time, because they had Bobek, they had Karchovski, they had Mitic, they had Vukas, who were outstanding players. And one thing which is actually very interesting is that Mitic, who was probably the best player alongside Basora of Spain, he did not enter the pitch until 8 or 9 minutes because he suffered an injury, and Yugoslavia played with 10 men, and Brazil scored a goal. Ademir scored a goal when they had 10 men. Consequently, he joined the match, and he destroyed the defensive system which Brazil had. And I truly believe that it was this moment when Flavio Costa changed the diagonal to the WM formation, because Brazil had, if I can remember the forward line, Maneca, Zizinho, Ademir, Jair, and Friaça. And Mitic was so outstanding. He was a crack forward that he could juggle the ball. He could do everything that an old Austrian could. He was a player who had flair, who had finesse. However, Yugoslavia, who I believe, I'm not saying they were playing because I cannot remember, they were playing for a draw. However, the match ended 2-0 for Brazil, and this spectacular side, because they truly were a spectacular side, they were eliminated from the fourth World Championship. And it was actually sad because Mythic was actually being one of the best players, if not the best players in the competition. And the best player regarding this side was supposed to be Bobek, who had some similarities with Puskás. Brazil went to the second phase and they completely destroyed Sweden, and probably one of the best matches which Maracanã ever saw was against Spain. From what I could see regarding interviews, I could hear regarding radio, from what I could read regarding many opinions, this was probably the best performance. And I'm not even saying this specifically because of Brazil, but regarding any other side, club or national team, which was presented while acting outstanding in Estádio of Maracanã. Because it was an orchestra being played against an outstanding side which won against England. They had Vassoura, Puxades, Telmo Zarra, who played outstandingly in this World Cup, Gainza, another great outside left. This Spanish side was impressive, and Brazil still managed, while playing WM, to beat them with a side which had Barbosa, Augusto, Juvenal, Bigode, Bauer, Danilo, Friaça, Zizinho, Ademir, Jair. Jair wasn't even playing something close to what he played against Mexico. Actually, he was way better in the first group stage than in the second one. And Chico. This side actually managed to beat Spain 6-1. And before this match, they destroyed Sweden 7-1. And they were favorites to win against Uruguay. Because of many other aspects, Uruguay was having problems with the press, some managers, dirigents, many other opinions. They did not have actually achieved impressive results regarding this tournament. They actually beat Bolivia by 8-0. However, it's Bolivia against a strong Uruguayan side. I mean, it was supposed to be something close to that. However, they did not show something which could reflect that they were close or even a percentage close to what the Brazilian side had. At this moment, Ademir was playing as a center forward, and I grew up, and while I started my own journey researching football, I always thought that Zizinho was the best player in this World Cup. And some experts, for instance, Dr. Friedbert Becker of Kicker, regarded the great inside forward as the best player in this tournament. However, I highly disagree with his opinion because although, of course, I did not see the tournament, he is against the others, many other experts who said that Ademir, and I'm not even saying this because he scored lots of goals. I'm saying this because he played every single match, and the he was the player who stood out for Brazil in almost every single match. He did not play the final as he played as he performed against Spain. And when I say final, I say the final match, not the truth. What is a final? Because many people believe that this World Cup had a final. No, it was just a coincidence that Brazil faced Uruguay for the title. This whole thing, which people actually regard as a final, wasn't even close to that. It was just a coincidence that Brazil faced Uruguay, and Brazil needed a draw against this Uruguayan side. It could not be a final. How can this be a final with a single match when a team needs a draw? It doesn't even make sense. Here in Brazil, if we have our own championship, and the two sides which actually stood out against other sides are Palmeiras and Flamengo. If, for instance, they came to the last round of the tournament and they were tied regarding points, and they played this last round, it would be a final? No, definitely not. It would not be a final. It's just the last game. It was a second phase with 4 teams: Brazil, Uruguay, Sweden, and Spain. Brazil needed at least a draw, and Uruguay had to win to be champions, and they actually did. I remember Friaça scored the first goal, and then Chefino scored after Gigia had beaten Bigode, and he passed back when Chefino was positioned something close to the right inside forward position, and the inside forward scored, and Gigia scored the second goal of the match. And something that it is interesting about this final is that what it was created regarding atmosphere was that Brazil were the world champions. And Jacques Desiswick, who was a correspondent for L'Equipe, actually wrote about this, that the press and many other managers were regarding Brazil as the world champions. It's actually impressive to read this, because once I saw a comparison with the 7-1 here in Brazil, and a journalist said that the 7-1 was way worse than the Maracanazo. He is actually right. However, I would like to bring some discussion regarding this, because it's not only the result which matters, but the emotional side which is created regarding the supporter, the fans. If you manage to make a person believe that blue is red and red is blue, and you actually gaslight the fan, the supporter about this, even if the team loses for a normal result, which is 2-1, although it was a comeback, it can be dangerous because of the emotional side. And although it wasn't even a final and the result was actually normal, many many people took to another level because of this emotional side, this gaslighting which was created. And I see a comparison with the 7-1 result, although the recent result was, of course, worse. But many people currently cannot understand what the Maracanazo means, because the gaslighting which was created back in the day was so huge that people actually took as a certainty that Brazil would win the World Cup no matter what. And when Uruguay managed to break this dream, people couldn't even believe that they were in reality. They were dreaming. According to Zizinho, he was dreaming. And it was a normal result. That's something interesting, because it's actually impressive how the press, managers, politics, and many others can create such an atmosphere regarding football that they can actually gaslight people to believe that what they are seeing or what is going to happen is actually the truth. And Brazil did this impressively, because I never saw a country regarding all these World Cups do the same thing or something close to what they did. They were regarded before the match as world champions. And of course, they had this tranquility, they had this confidence before the last match against Uruguay. However, when it came to the last match, even Barbosa said, and it is recorded, that everything changed. The press, the managers, they sent them to hell when they were with confidence. And although Uruguay had many problems with their managers, with their dirigents, their press, it came to a point that the reality broke itself regarding the Brazilians. And many people to this day cannot understand how a normal result could actually make people kill themselves. As I heard, many people actually could not believe what they're seeing. Many people could not accept this. They took it as a catastrophe. It was a normal result in a final match. I mean, not a final match, but in the last match. It was not something close to a 3-0 against France in 98 or the 7-1 or many other results. It was because of an emotional thing. And regarding the Brazilian side, in my opinion, if I can make a summary about the side, Bigode was doing excellent. He reached his peak, his cum while playing the tournament. Unfortunately, he made some mistakes in the last match. I keep saying final because it's actually difficult to adapt to this last match thing, because it was definitely not a final. Danilo was better in training than while playing the match. Bauer was outstanding. Actually, he was one of the best players in the tournament. Zizinho, when he entered the field, was outstanding. Jair played better in the first phase of the tournament. And Ademir was just outstanding. He was great. He was impressive. He was in another level. I'm not even saying this because he was the top scorer of the tournament. No, it was because he reached a level while playing right side forward or playing central forward because he played alongside Baltazar, who was an outstanding header. He actually scored in the World Cup. However, the side which has this trio Zizinho, Ademir, and Jair was in another level. And another thing that I would like to bring is that many people believe, and I remember this because I was watching the new series, and I still have to watch the other parts, the other chapters, uh, because many people believe that Jairzinho is the only player to score in every single phase or in every single match in the World Cup. Well, that's not true, because if we talk about every single phase, this World Cup, the first World Cup after the Second World War had two phases. Therefore, many people score goals in these two phases. And if we talk about matches, well, he's not the only one. Sharashi in the third World Cup, he scored in every single match. So did Gigia in this World Cup. He scored in every single match, including the final, the last match. That's something that I would like to talk about because this is one aspect regarding this World Cup. It was definitely not a great tournament because it was completely broken. I mean, if you take a look at the group stage, it's actually pathetic. How come a national team play a single match against Bolivia just like Uruguay did and I mean, be in the second stage? That's definitely something weird. The Brazilian group had four teams: Brazil, Switzerland, Yugoslavia, and Mexico. It was a group with four teams. This tournament had groups with three teams and a group with two teams. That's just broken. And not even a final, I mean, a knockout stage. That's something strange. And what was regarded back in the day was that this tournament was the tourney of counter attacks. Not even close to what it was in the 30s or what it was in the next World Cup with Hungary and many other sides. It was a tournament of counter attacks, and that's how exactly Uruguay won their second World Cup. The level of the matches, the individualities were not even close to what it was performed in the 38 World Cup. Leon just played better than Ademir, than Zizinho, than Bauer. The level of the matches were not even close to what it was before because Maracanã could actually have a tendency of 200,000 people. However, when some sides played in this stadium at this Estádio de Maracanã, it used to look like that it was empty because 3,000 supporters actually attended the stadium while watching random matches. Only the match which Brazil was playing could bring more than 70,000 people, 60,000 people. I believe the match Spain and England reached something close to 50,000 people. Therefore, it makes something which cannot be compared because Brazil had great attendance. However, other sides did not have something close to it. So it was a one-side tournament. Many people did not actually enjoy watching other matches. Brazil could only bring their full power, and they actually did bring their full power in the second stage of the World Cup against Sweden and precisely against Spain when they, as I said before, they reach a level which I can consider Markkanen never saw something close to this. And this is some pepper to add regarding the last match because the confidence was the confidence literally reached the stars. And if we can gather everything that I said and add this, it brings it emotional tragedy. And I say emotional because a 2-1 result against that Uruguayan side, which had Maspoli, Tejera, Varela, Andrade, Gambetta, Pérez, Julio Pérez, Migues, Schiaffino, Gigia. It wasn't a great side. Therefore, I conclude that the final result, the result of the last match is just normal. What reached the Brazilian back in the day was this gaslighting which was created, and it became a tragedy. Tragedy isn't even close to what it was. Tragedy is 7-1.